It's a cool, windy day at Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin, as the Badgers wrap up spring practice. It's the 2015 Wisconsin Spring Game on BTN. Hi, everybody. Great to have you with us from Madison, along with Badger Rose Bowl champion Scott Nelson. I'm Jay Wilson. Kevin Lewis will join us from the sidelines in a little bit. And Scott, we look at the last time we saw Wisconsin to now, change is the word. Melvin Gordon going to the NFL draft next week. And a big change at the top. Head coach Paul Chryst in for Gary Anderson.
And the change at running back, Corey Clement, is a guy that has been battle-tested here for Wisconsin. I think we know what we're going to get out of him. He's built extremely well. Has a Big Ten running back, big, strong legs, power runner, and gets after it. And Paul Chryst, even though it's a change, it's a familiar place for him to be here at Camp Randall back in Wisconsin, and a staff that is also familiar, either played or coached here previously. I think that transition is going to be awfully nice.
Well, Wisconsin football is coming off a successful 2014 season. They won a bowl game for the first time in 5 years, although the season got off to a bit of a rocky start. They lost at LSU, they lost at Northwestern, and then Joel Stave became the quarterback, and they rode the shoulders of Melvin Gordon as they won 7 in a row, won the West Division, and then lost to Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game 59-0. But the season was salvaged with a bowl win as Barry Alvarez took over as head coach. And then Paul Chryst introduced December 17th. Second time in 3 years, a new coaching staff, a new head coach. After Brett Bielema, remember, went to Arkansas. Now Gary Anderson to Oregon State. But Paul Chryst is a pretty comfortable replacement.
Well, and I think some of the guys, what makes that comfortable, Jay, is the senior class was here with Paul before he left. And I think that transition, again, these guys have been through it a few different times. They understand how to help these underclassmen through that change and that transition. I think, again, that leadership will show its head here today.
And you look at Paul Chryst's coaching resume, you see a lot of stops. You see NFL. There's some CFL in there as well, college. And he seems to be much comfortable 3 years as head coach at Pittsburgh and now coming here to Wisconsin in the same position.
A different presence, I think, about him than when he left as the offensive coordinator. And when you look at his track record of where he's coached, where he's played, I think the guys understand he's a coach that can help develop you to get to the next level. And he's got a staff that is able to fine-tune and tweak. Here's what we can do. Here's the skill set these guys have, and how do we marry those two together?
And both players and coaches are both still in that transition, trying to learn each other here through the spring. We have some exciting news on the head coaches for today's spring game. We'll tell you about that in just a moment when we return to Camp Randall for the Wisconsin Spring Game on BTN. Corey Clement ready to go here for the Wisconsin Spring Football Game. And before we get started, let's go down to the sidelines. And Kevin Lewis is with Badger head coach Paul Chryst.
Jay, thank you very much. I'm not going to call you head coach. I'm going to call you general manager today because you have two coaching ringers, Josh Gosser and Duya Dukin from the men's basketball team, sporting the Barry Alvarez and Bill Belichick. Look, how cool is that to have them on the sideline?
It's great, you know, and those two know a lot of our players and obviously get a lot of respect for who they are as individuals and what they're representing, and that's what our basketball team did. And I think that's what makes colleges, universities special, and we're proud of what they do and they're proud of what we're doing, and so it's a great way to have it shown this day.
And from this game, what do you expect as a head coach on both sides of the ball with kind of a different atmosphere?
You just want to see guys play, you know, and particularly for us this year, still getting to learn our players, and so it gives us an opportunity to see individuals compete and play in front of a crowd, and looking forward to just a clean game, hopefully.
All right, thanks, Coach. Have fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Jay, back to you guys. Coach Chryst walked on this field as the offensive coordinator 4 years ago. Now he's the head coach, so it feels pretty good.
You bet. Thanks, Kevin. We're going to look at the highlights of the two coaches, Duya Dukin and Josh Gosser. Of course, they helped Wisconsin to the Final Four in the national championship game in Indianapolis just a couple weeks ago. And they're making the most of their coaching opportunities now in a football sense. I'll tell you what, when you take a look at these guys, look at the outfits.
I love it.
Dukin there is he's Barry Alvarez today. He's got the sweater vest. Remember, Barry always had those aviator sunglasses.
I think Gosser channeling a little Belichick cut-off sweatshirt and the old bucket hat.
Yep. All right, we'll keep up with those guys. We'll hear from them a little bit later as well. Spring game rules today. 4 quarters, Team Dukin against Team Gosser. Team Dukin has the second team offense, first team defense. Team Gosser has first team offense, second team defense. We'll have running clock, change of possession, only stopping in the first half, 20-minute running clock in the second half. And oh, here's good news for the broadcast team. The players may change teams as we go along. Patrick Herb from UW Athletic Communications here to help us out with that. Patrick, of course, was the media contact as the Badgers made it to the Final Four run. He was busy doing things like setting up Frank Kaminsky's interview with Will Ferrell and important things like that. And now he's helping us today in the booth. And here we go, starting the Wisconsin spring game. Joel Stave at quarterback, leading the #1 offense, and the handoff is to Taiwan Deal. And he gets short yardage, and our spring game is underway. Taiwan Deal was, I guess he's kind of an X factor, and we'll see if he can step into a position maybe as a #2 guy.
Well, and what Wisconsin has had the last few years, when you narrow it down, you got Monte Ball, James White, Melvin Gordon. You can go back to John Clay and that time period where they've always had 2 for sure, if not 3 running backs. And they're needing to find somebody to fill in that backup role to Corey Clement, and whether it's him or Darian Ogunbowale or who that's going to be. And that's why they run this spring game, to see who's going to maybe come up into a game situation, even though it's against yourself. Who's going to step up and be that type of player that can maybe jump off the film with these guys and solidify themselves as a #2 running back.
Deal got another carry and gained 11 yards. There you see Joel Stave. 10 games last year, took over after that Northwestern game in Game 6 and led the Badgers to 7 straight victories. Taiwan Deal with a couple of carries and 16 yards, and Deal gets another carry here, and he gets it out to about the 40-yard line. Well, Wisconsin has 11 of its regular 22 starters back from last year, 5 on offense. Joel Stave, the quarterback, Alex Erickson, the wide receiver, Derek Watt, the fullback, Tyler Martz, the left tackle, and Dan Bolts, the center. So we'll see some different faces on offense, and I think they really want to find some wide receivers to help Alex Erickson out.
Yeah, I think you have to, and you look at some different things. Some of these guys are pretty intriguing, but they're young. A Reggie Love, a Wheelwright. Some of those guys need to, again, have a breakout game today.
Well, there's a long pass from Stave, and it's Alex Erickson on the receiving end, and that's a big gain for Team Gusser.
We had a chance to talk with Coach Christ prior to the game, and what he said has really impressed him about Alex Erickson is maybe not, he doesn't jump off the page or off the field as a huge imposing receiver, but he runs extremely good routes. He finds situations where he can be successful, and he's learned through that as a quarterback in high school how to anticipate and do things offensively here up at the UW as a wide receiver.
41-yard reception by Alex Erickson. Now Gusser on the move. Here's Deal once again, and he's taken down just past the line of scrimmage, so a short gain there. Yeah, Alex Erickson, you know, Jared Abbrederis, remember, drafted by the Green Bay Packers, and everybody was like, well, who's going to catch passes for Wisconsin? Well, Erickson had 55 catches for 772 yards and 3 touchdowns last year. And I tell you what, he can catch him in traffic, too. He's a tough receiver. He really stepped into his own last year.
Yeah, he's not afraid to go get the football, and that's what I like about him, is he understands the concept of what does he need to do to be successful, and that's working back to the football, catching it with your hands, and being successful that way.
They keep it on the ground there. That's a short gain by Serge Trezzi, who's an interesting story here in camp. Trezzi changing positions, and now he's trying to get to that mix at running back.
Well, and I think that's where the coaches, as we talked in our open, said they try to find guys, see what their athletic skill set is, and put them in positions to be successful, call some plays where they can understand things, and not try and overcomplicate things in the spring. Once you get into the fall, then you start to ramp things up, and more is expected. But simplify things, give them the basic fundamentals that they need, and then see where it progresses.
Stave on 3rd and 4. He looks to the end zone, and it's complete. Touchdown. Rob Wheelwright on the receiving end.
Good to see Wheelwright out there getting after it a little bit. A big receiver. Awfully fun to watch, and I think he's a guy that when you're 6'2", you're 200 pounds, you got to be physical. You got to be able to separate from defenders, and at the tail end of it, you saw how he was covered. But at the end of it, he had 2 yards of separation, just using his body extremely well to gather that football, bring it down for the touchdown. Nice little start here for that offense.
Andrew Endicott for the extra point, and Team Gusser takes a quick 7-0 lead. Rob Wheelwright has battled injuries in his Badger career. He caught 1 pass all of last season for 17 yards, and he's on the board there with a touchdown from Joel Stave. That was a 17-yard touchdown pass from Stabby, who's 2 of 2 for 55 yards on that first drive.
Good little start. As you were gathering all those stats, I was watching the sideline, watching Coach Belichick Gosser down there on the sideline, Jay, and he took off the headset. He's right in the middle, high-fiving guys left and right. And Pierce, same kind of, age, but he's out there and he's acting as a coach. And he sent out an interesting tweet the other day. He said, "I know football, the F-O-O-T football, and Douye knows football, the F-U-T kind." So we'll see how this interaction and they play off each other here today.
So Team Dukin now with the football, and the first run is snuffed out as Ogun Boale is the first ball carrier. Here's the players not participating today, pretty much across the board because of injury. Jordan Frederick, a veteran wide receiver. T.J. Watt's the brother of Derek Watt, and J.J. Watt, of course. And Rafael Gaglianone, the field goal kicker who came on and made some big kicks. In fact, made the game-winning kick in overtime in the Outback Bowl. He's not participating as well. Penalty markers down as D.J. Gillen scrambles out of the pocket. He's close to a first down, but again, a penalty marker back in the Team Dukin backfield.
Probably in over a year's time, that's DJ's first real exposure to game-type situation, even with the penalty. He's been on the offensive side. He traveled with the team an awful lot, so he understands things through the headset. Now he's on the field and commanding a huddle again out of high school. But what we saw there is the flash at 6'3". He's mobile, and he's able to get some things going, Jay, with his legs that I think people really thought when he was recruited here would play to the advantage for him to get some playing time. And if he continues to develop and understand this offense, again, a new offense for most of these guys, I think he's a young man that'll compete for a starting job.
Holding call against Team Dukin will push them back inside the 10-yard line. Ogunbowale again gets the ball carry, and he's dragged down after a short gain. And that's a nice play by Jacobs on defense for Team Gosser.
Leon Jacobs, an interesting story, inside linebacker now, and you've got two guys out on the edge, in Vince Beagle and Joe Schobert. We saw a lot of activity out of them last year. Derek Landers not here anymore, so you're trying to find some inside linebackers that can fill that role. And here's Leon Jacobs, a guy that's worked extremely hard to develop himself physically, to understand things from behind the line of scrimmage, and how hard do I need to fill? What angles do I need to take? We've been very lucky with a guy like Chris Borland and a Derek Landish, and those guys, a Trotter, all the way through here at Wisconsin, that has been pretty amazing as far as we see a nice long run by D.J. Gillens. I'm talking all defense, right?
That's what D.J. Gillens can do. Dual threat quarterback. In high school, D.J. Gillens threw for 7,200 yards and rushed for another 25 touchdowns. Here's Gillens with a 29-yard scamper right here.
Directing a little traffic downfield, and I think he got himself a little bit too far ahead of himself trying to make a little cut, but you see flashes of that athleticism, which is why he was highly recruited, and certainly lucky to have him here. Again, those guys will push Joel Stabby for that starting position. Joel has been named the starter right now, but there's some competition at that quarterback position, and I know Coach Chris loves to have that. I would like to have that at every spot, but certainly at the quarterback position.
That run goes nowhere for Team Dukin. One of the questions of this Badger team as they head to 2015 is filling the void at inside linebacker. Boy, you lose Marcus Trotter and Derek Landish. You've got some holes.
Yeah, we're talking about them, and more so the leadership. Guys that came into practice, worked extremely hard. Trotter was always looked up to from the younger guys on the team as a guy that studied, understood what needed to happen, and very, very productive out on the field. So you got to find a way to replace those two guys with that activity.
By the way, the offenses will wear white today, and the defenses will always be wearing red. Now the pressure's on, and Gillens goes down. That's Michael Caputo coming up from his safety position.
Great read right out of the get-go. Little fumbled snap. And Michael Caputo, when he goes, and he's one of these leaders. He's physical, he gets after it, but a guy that loves to play football. And so he reads it, and he doesn't hesitate. He goes, and if you guess wrong, guess going 100 miles an hour, and good things will happen. And Michael Caputo has really grown in and developed into one of the top safeties in this league.
Led the team in tackles last year with 106, and he says his big job this spring was to mentally push guys and teach them what it takes to be successful. Led by example there, and another sack as Gillens goes down and lost the football. So heavy pressure. That's Mark Sari coming away with the football for Team Gosser.
What I like about this, Leon Jacobs, first inside linebacker, blows it up, and then Gillens drifts a little bit. And unfortunately for him, he drifts out to the outside right to where James is, and that's understanding where's my pocket, where is the pressure coming from, where do I need to step up into to protect myself and allow my wide receivers down the field to maybe get open. So great pressure. Again, watching guys compete, that's what these coaches want to see here in game-type situation, and a couple plays on that defensive set for Leon Jacobs, really outstanding, doing a nice job of filling in at that inside linebacker position.
So they're going to change possession, and now Team Gosser will get the football back, and Bart Houston will be at quarterback for Team Gosser. Deal is still the running back. Looks like Houston wants to throw, and he's going to go down. Boy, early on, the defenses are having their way. Jack Sitchie was the first to arrive and sack Houston.
The only thing that I see on that is just simply a whiff by Derek Watt. He's kind of listed as a tight end, H-back, fullback. In a lot of different positions, they're going to have to use him that way this season. And unfortunately for him, he set his feet instead of keeping those happy feet moving a little bit to slide and kick out. He just wasn't able to get a nice solid block, and then you get a simple sack on the backside of your quarterback.
Jack Sitchie, a redshirt sophomore from Somerset, Wisconsin. Now to the ground again, and not much doing there. Jeremy Patterson, 92, takes down Taiwan Deal. You're going to see names like Xander Newville, Jeremy Patterson, Brady Kelleher. There's some of the guys on that number 2 defense trying to make an impression today.
And solidify themselves as the backup. Many times the starters, you kind of know what you're going to get, but for them with the new coaching staff, it's open. Let's get after and let's see what you have. And the coaches might not know exactly who you are. You certainly have an opportunity each and every day in practice to get better, and they take notice of that.
3rd and 17 facing Bart Houston now. High snap handled by Houston. Protection pretty good. Go to the sideline, nearly intercepted. Joe Ferguson nearly picking it off. Madison Memorial High School, the grandson of UW Director of Athletics, Barry Alvarez.
That's the old joke, like that's the reason why he's on defense. For an interception, could have had it. Hey, but you know what?
Be nice now.
It makes it. Hey, I was there, man. I was there. I understand. Great break by Joe, though, to get up there and outstanding. And those are opportunities to make sure that you need to take care of as you clean things up.
We're going to take a break. Team Gosser on Rob Wheelwright's touchdown reception, leading 7-0. Mentioned that Paul Christ is back in familiar territory here at Wisconsin, and his coaching staff has a lot of familiar names, at least for Paul Christ, as they followed him from the University of Pittsburgh.
It's interesting when you look at that. Joe Rudolph, a guy that played offensive line here, has been with him, offensive coordinator at Pitt. And then John Settle was with him for a short time out there. There you see Joe by Coach Christ. Really has grown and developed into a nice offensive coordinator, and really takes pride in making sure these guys understand what to do. But John Settle was in the NFL for a while, and so we talk about Coach Christ being able to develop guys. He's got a staff around him that has done that same thing, been at very many successful programs around the country at that pro level. And so these guys will get coached up hard, but they get coached up the right way.
Team Dukin back with the football now. Dario Ogunbowale with the carry. He burst out of the scene last year with 94 yards in his first game against Bowling Green. He, of course, coming over from the defensive side of the football. His sister, Arike, is the player of the year in high school basketball in Wisconsin. She scored 55 points in a game at the state tournament this year. TJ Edwards with that last tackle.
Ogunbowale is intriguing to me. I think he's developed and grown as a player here now, because he understands that I'm only going to be on the offensive side of the football. Last year he was in between a little bit, and this time now in spring football he's understanding this is my spot. I'm fighting for a number 2 spot. I'm fighting for maybe 3rd down plays as a little scat back out on the edge. He's got some great speed, great vision, and what we saw in that Bowling Green game is an ability to break some tackles and outstanding balance.
George Rushing with that last reception. He has a number change from last year. Rushing now wearing number 87. Let's go down to the sidelines where Kevin Lewis has a special guest.
Corey Clement, you've been the backup to the backup running back, and now the starting running back at Wisconsin. What's that progression been like for you?
It's been a great experience, actually, coming in from my freshman year, moving up on the depth chart. I just see, how James and Melvin and Monty work. Well, excuse me, not Monty, but I actually got a chance to watch some of his tapes. But, this whole experience is just, it's great. Now I'm coming into the leading role and just actually being a, prime example for the younger guys and just, showing them how to work.
Learning from guys like James and Melvin, any better combo to learn from than those two guys?
I don't think any other combo I would want to learn from. Melvin, he was a great role model. Now he's off to the NFL, and he left me with a lot of great tips and reminders just to progress this season.
You have a new head coach again, Paul Chryst, and what have you learned from him? What is your relationship been with him since he's been on the job?
It's been great. Actually, me and Coach Chryst actually met back in the Pitt days when I was actually being recruited by Pitt. Kind of decommitted from him, but me and him are on good terms now. But we have a positive relationship, a healthy one, and we both understand each other very well.
Is it frustrating you're already pulled from the game? You want some protected starters, but you said it's boring. I just sit over here and watch.
I wish they would have told me before I came out here, but they let me at least get a chance to get a feel and warm up. So it's pretty cool just to actually get out here with my friends, teammates, to just enjoy the atmosphere. Hopefully, the rain did hold up, so we're able to have a great time out here.
Have fun watching, I guess.
Oh, my God, I can't even do it.
Thanks for your time. Corey Clement, the starting running back this year for Wisconsin, not playing the rest of the spring game. Don't want to get him injured before the fall starts, of course, Jay.
There's a pretty good idea. Gillens keeps moving the offense down the field, now inside the 40. Clement, as you saw, rushed for almost 1,000 yards last year. Also caught 14 passes for 119 yards and a couple of touchdowns. So he's also focusing on trying to become more of a pass receiving threat as well.
The progression of each and every running back coming into Wisconsin is that's one thing in high school you don't do an awful lot of, and here you have to at the college level in order to be successful and learn how to pass protect as well, not just catch the ball, but where do you fit in with the scheme in order to protect your quarterback to be successful.
First and 10 for Team Dukin. Gillens still at quarterback. This will be another running play for short yardage. Well, Wisconsin has had a great lineage of running backs, and Melvin Gordon, the latest of that. Look at those numbers from the 2014 season. That game, he rushed for 408 yards against Nebraska. Everybody in the building knew he was going to get the ball, but he still ran for 408.
Yeah, that last touchdown run that he had to set the record, was it 29 yards, 26 yards right in there? Just the thing of beauty, Nebraska knew what was going to happen. And then to come out in his last game against Auburn in the Outback Bowl, just a threat each and every time he touched the football. And when they came out in the second half and they just decided, Barry even said it after the game, he said, we came out, we want to play Wisconsin brand football, and that's running it, ramming it down their throat. And Melvin, within 3, 4, 5 carries, had scored a touchdown. And from there, we had a great battle for us as fans to watch on TV, for those of us that were there. And then to come back in overtime, Jay, to win that thing for the Wisconsin Badgers was a great way to recover from the Ohio State game in the Big Ten Championship.
Naked bootleg for Gillens there. He's now rushed 3 times for 47 yards and has his club to the 24-yard line. So try to even this thing up. Gillens on the give and nothing doing there. Sorry, the ball carrier. Connor Sheehy making the play for Team Dukin's defense.
It's fun to watch Connor get upfield. A guy that didn't get a whole lot of time, but a guy that will certainly get his time here today to show what he can do, as all these guys will, but kept his shoulder squared, pressed upfield, cut the angle off for the running back, and blew the play up all by himself. And when you do that as a defensive lineman, one-on-one blocking, just a quick power surge of driving a guy back, that's pretty impressive.
Sheehy's tackle is a loss of 2, 2nd and 12. Gillens looks to throw, hit as he throws, and that forced the pass to be a little short of the intended target. George Rushing, incomplete.
You saw a couple of those things. Corey's interview just a few seconds ago, and then information that overload with what Melvin did last year, and you go back-to-back seasons with what, or I guess 2 years removed, but with what Monte Ball did in touchdowns, setting the all-time record, and then what he almost did in breaking the all-time rushing record. And I think I'm excited to see who is Corey going to hook on with for that after touchdown dance that these guys have been pretty successful with.
Gillens is sacked from behind. Boy, the pressure's coming hot and heavy here early on. Obashi looked like he was the guy that got there. Yep. Chikwe Obashi.
Chikwe is an interesting project to me out of Brookfield Central here in Wisconsin. 6'2", 268. Big kid, kind of growing into that position. Extremely talented. Very athletic for as big as he is, and again, learning to operate down on the trenches, learning to operate out in space, one-on-one battles, and a guy that I think they will need to have down in that defensive line, starting, building that depth, growing, and he needs to be productive for this team to be successful.
Obashi is from Brookfield Central High School, which produced former Badgers Joe Thomas and Ben Strickland. Gillen trying to get out of trouble, escapes for a little bit, and then taken down. T.J. Edwards, another tackle. BTN has you covered for spring football as our experts break down the Michigan State spring game as well as today's full slate of action on the Big Ten Spring Football Report. Tonight at 10 Eastern on BTN and BTN to go. A busy couple of weeks of spring football around the Big Ten, and today we'll wrap things up with the Wisconsin spring game. Joel Stabby to Rob Wheelwright, our only score here so far, 7-0 Team Gosser. They'll spot this one at the 30-yard line, and Bart Houston back in for the Team Gosser offense.
Who do you got, Duke or Gosser? I got Duke.
Paul Chryst, the 30th head coach in Wisconsin football history. 49 years old, head coach at the University of Pittsburgh. The last 3 seasons, a 19-19 record there, but born and raised in Wisconsin. His dad, a legend in the state, George Chryst. George Chryst was the athletic director at UW-Platteville, and he's the guy that actually hired Bo Ryan to be their basketball coach back in 1984. And, of course, Bo went on to win 4 Division III national championships there, and now the wildly successful coach at the University of Wisconsin. Penalty marker down.
I don't think Bartlett, his offensive line, gets set fast enough.
There's Josh Gosser. You see that get up he's got, the bucket hat and the cutoff hoodie. Oh, and we have him, Mike. Let's see what's going on. What kind of strategy?
He's such a nice guy. Yeah, we got Bruisewitz back there? Huh? Mike Bruisewitz on your team?
He's looking at the crowd for Mike Bruisewitz.
Yeah. What? 67? Mike Bruisewitz?
He's no coach at all.
Talking with Jordan Frederick, probably getting a little insight into this offense.
There's a completion. Alex Erickson gets a first down. The Team Gosser. I guess the offense runs itself.
Terrence Floyd with the tackle. Ball marked at the 42-yard line.
So far, it's all show and not much talk, huh? Josh Gosser was a quarterback in high school at Port Washington. 2008, he threw for almost 1,600 yards.
Yeah, that inspired 2-eye banana.
Here's Houston now on a 1st and 10 after the Erickson reception. Hard running again by Taiwan Deal is getting a steady diet of being fed the football here for Team Gosser.
Watched a couple of times. They've run this play first down on this drive each time that they have it. Number 13 for the defense, Evan Bondock, who's just on the road, Madison Edgewood High School. As a safety is filled awfully nice. It's hard at this level to get safeties to understand. You got to get downhill, fill the alleys, understand the gap that you're responsible for. And even though they got 6, 7 yards on that play, he was a guy that came up, filled where he was supposed to, took on a block, and then you just got to trust your teammates are going to come in and take care of the rest of it. But for a young guy to be successful, starting out again with those fundamentals and building off of that here in the spring season of practice, culminating here in the spring game, is awfully good for a young player to be able to get some information on film for the coaches to evaluate.
Taiwan Deal, 8 carries already for 42 yards. Final seconds of our first period. Houston throwing deep. Austin Traylor couldn't quite catch up with it. He had beaten Jesse Hayes, and Traylor's an interesting story. I don't think anybody works harder on the team. He's been known for his blocking ability, but he has worked his tail off to try and become a better receiver. And that will be the end of the first period. Josh Gosser, Douye Dukin, coaching him up for Paul Chryst today at the spring game here in Madison. Back after this. Bundled up today, about mid-40s our temperature, but that wind is making things real chilly, but good crowd to watch the Wisconsin spring game. Scott, your keys to Wisconsin's offense in the upcoming season. One guy we figured, but the other two might be a surprise to some people.
For me, Tywan Deal is just interesting. He's a redshirt freshman, but a young player that has to grow and develop into that backup role, whether it's him, Dario Gumbawale, either one of those guys, they have to solidify themselves as a backup for Corey Clement. I think Joel is an outstanding quarterback. To play at this level, you have to be very, very good. And he's got a great winning percentage, and he needs to continue to grow and develop. And it's almost like he needs to say, you know what, this is my job. I'm not looking over my shoulder this year. I'm going to take it, I'm going to run with it, and it's mine, and move forward from there to become the leader. I think the players on this team certainly look up to him and understand what he's been through and respect what the time that he's put in. And then Fumagalli, for me, as a tight end, really grew and developed last year an awful lot for this Wisconsin Badger football team. He's out of Illinois, good hands, getting to be a much better blocker, and having him and Austin Traylor together, I think, are going to be key for this offense to be successful.
Nick Thomas made that last tackle. Here's a pass from Houston to Rob Wheelwright, who gets his second catch of the day. He has the only score of the day on a long touchdown from Joel Stavy, and we might have seen the last of Joel Stavy for today, but Stavy's an interesting case study. He's always had to kind of look over his shoulder to be the starter, and he never gets the love you think a guy might get. He's 21-7 in his career as the starting quarterback, and you know he's going to be the guy this year.
I look back a few years, a guy like Mike Samuel wasn't pretty, got things done, was very, very successful, winning quarterback, and I think when he left at that time in his career was the winningest quarterback in Wisconsin history. Joel, the same kind of thing. He's solid. He has some throws that have some of us scratching our head. Then he comes back in an Auburn game and leads a drive at the end of regulation and in overtime to win that thing, and he's perfect from that standpoint. So he's got the ability. It's just a matter of, like I think what you said, Jay, that confidence to go in each and every week to know that you're the guy and to play like you are.
3rd and 26. Houston goes for it all and overshoots his receiver. Incomplete. That was Wheelwright again.
One other thing real quick on that, Jay. A few years ago, we had a guy by the name of Russell Wilson. Turned out to be a pretty darn good NFL quarterback, too.
He was okay that year, too,
yeah, he did okay for Wisconsin Badgers, no doubt. And I say this in the most kind way that I can. He ruined the quarterback position at Wisconsin forever.
Yeah.
Because of how good he was, that's the expectation. Now, that's not a bad thing, because if we get a quarterback like that, or guys that aspire to be that good, and I think Joel puts in the time and studies film and understands what's coming at him much more so than he did 3-4 years ago, I think he can grow and develop into being a really nice senior quarterback for this Wisconsin team. But again, there's competition at that position. And guys are stepping in younger and younger. And Alex Hornibrook, as one of them, is a guy, he's a lefty, but he's got some really good ability, 6'4" quarterback, so he can see down the field. Again, that competition, and then DJ Gillens with the legs, with what we've seen already today, there's some pretty darn good athletes coming up behind Joel for future years.
Since they didn't convert on 3rd down, instead of punting and going through that routine, they moved the ball 40 yards, so it's essentially a 40-yard punt, and that's where they take over now. And let's go back down to the field where Kevin Lewis is with Jeff Wendorf from the UW Alumni Association. Kevin?
Jay, thank you very much. Jeff joining us. And what does a day like today mean for groups like the Alumni Association to kind of get a football game feel here in April?
Right. Well, spring in Wisconsin, right? We had a great Crazy Legs run today. We had a number of events around that, and it's just great to be able to be out here and start the football season.
With so many things going on in spring in Madison, what is it like for you and the association kind of to herd people in together and get them kind of centralized with a lot of different things going on?
Yeah, well, we have alumni all over the country that we're always trying to involve in our alumni chapters. and our affiliate groups and other events like this. Bringing them back to Madison really means a lot to them. They are able to spend some time in the places that they were here on campus and come to the football game, and things like that are really important for them to renew those ties to their alma mater.
And you were a fan of the hire, Coach Paul Chryst. You go back with him quite a ways a little bit.
Well, yeah, our kids went to high school together, and his mom was my kid's grade school principal, so we got to know her very well too. So yeah, he's great. We're really thrilled to have him as an alum on board, and as a member of this community. He cares a lot about the community and about Badger Nation, and we know he's an outstanding football coach, but in sort of the Bo Ryan mantra, he really cares about the student athletes and prepares them not only to compete here on the field but also in life.
Appreciate your time, Jeff. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the game.
Okay, thanks a lot. Appreciate it, Kevin.
All right, Jay, back up to you in the studio. On Wisconsin is right. Coach Chryst said earlier this week, Jay, that it's important to have groups like the Alumni Association kind of make it feel like this is your place when you come back, and they're doing a pretty good job this weekend.
All right, Kevin, thanks very much. We saw a couple plays ago a pass defended by Sojourn Shelton, who really burst out of the scene as a freshman. And I don't know if take a step back as a sophomore is the way to go, but he seems to have renewed enthusiasm.
Yeah, there's sometimes that sophomore slump that guys go through, and I don't know if I always buy into that. I think he was going against some pretty darn good wide receivers early on with LSU and a offensive attack with Northwestern in the game that they lost there with some guys. But I think he continues to get better. He works at it. The thing that I want to see him do is not get overly excited about the routine play. Stuff you're supposed to do is making a tackle and knocking down a pass. That's great. Celebrate the big play with your teammates when you get an interception. You come up with a big pass breakup at an opportune time, and make sure you understand down and distance the situation in the game, because those things, when you need to step up and make a play late in the game, get a pass breakup, those are the times that you really get a chance to celebrate, not the routine stuff. And I think that's where his maturity, I think, will hopefully come through this next season.
Taiwan Deal, another carry. Evan Bondock, another tackle for Team Gusser. As Taiwan Deal comes off the pile, Paul Chryst says Taiwan Deal's had a really good spring, and the big question facing Taiwan Deal is, can he be the guy? He's from DeMatha High School, the basketball powerhouse high school, but they can produce some pretty good football players too, Taiwan Deal. 3rd and 3 now for Bart Houston. Deal 10 carries, 45 yards so far. And little out pattern, complete again to Wheelwright. So Rob Wheelwright making his mark from the wide receiver position with a touchdown. A couple more catches after that.
I think Wheelwright's an interesting story to me, a guy that's been hurt a little bit, and some of the conditioning and whether it be lifting, the athletic training staff, as these guys grow and develop, it's going to be an interesting process to watch. How does this summer off-season conditioning program really take hold for some of these young guys and guys that are trying to get onto the field and make sure that the coaches understand that they're committed their time and themselves to becoming a better football player.
Derek Watt catches the pass out of the backfield and taken down immediately again by Evan Bondock. Well, that's what spring is for, a guy like Bondock to raise his hand and say, hey, look at me. I can maybe do something for you.
Well, I can do it here as maybe the second team defense, but he's also trying to play himself into some special teams. They need guys that are willing to hit, guys that are willing to get down the field. And sometimes that's where you make your mark and you earn playing time, whether it be a nickel situation, dime situations. Special teams can be a huge turning factor. And I'm sure between all the former players, whether it's Coach Alvarez or Coach Bielema or Gary or even now with Chryst, here you said there's 3 phases of the game. It's pretty simple. There's offense, defense, and special teams. You win 2 out of 3, you got a great chance of winning the football game. And for guys like Bondock to work himself into playing time through the second team defense here and onto special teams, I think sits very well for the Wisconsin Badgers.
With that last completion, Bart Houston now 3 of 6 for 22 yards on the day. Stavi, in fact, he's done 2 of 2 for 55 and a touchdown. This is 3rd and short. Deal gets through the right side, and look at him go down to the 20-yard line. That's the kind of burst you want to see out of Taiwan Deal.
Well, good vision first. Excellent job up front blocking. slipping through the gap, finding the area he needs to get to, and then the ability to get upfield and then cut outside, reading a block outside by his wide receiver. That's the vision that you want as a running back. Get upfield, get the hard yards you know you need to get, and then when you break out in the open, make some guys miss, and it's one-on-one. And Deal, I think, just tripped himself up. I think he would have scored otherwise.
14 yards on the last carry, now 11 for 59 for Deal. Red zone opportunity for Bart Houston and Team Gosser. Hit as he throws, but still gets into the end zone, and it's caught by Wheelwright for the touchdown. Tell you what, Bart Houston took a pop, but still got enough on it. A 20-yard scoring pass from Houston to Wheelwright, and Team Gosser's up 13-0.
Tywan Deal, the guy that we're talking about, slips in just in the nick of time to pick up a little chip block on a blitzing linebacker, and then for DJ to have the ability to throw off his back foot on a a corner route to Wheelwright, spot on where his receiver can go get it. Just unbelievable athleticism and awfully fun to see, because we haven't seen this team stretch the field an awful lot lately without one guy other than Jared Aberderis, or the next year in Erickson. And here's an opportunity, guys stepping up and making something happen.
Andrew Endicott's extra point puts the capper on this scoring pass from Houston to Wheelwright. 14-0 Team Gosser. Welcome back to Camp Randall Stadium. Rob Wheelwright has just caught his second touchdown of the day here in front of some cold fans in Madison. Good to see you. Welcome back. Scott Nelson, Jay Wilson, joined by Ross Kalaji, a familiar face to Badger fans, a member of the 99 and 2000 Rose Bowl championship teams. You went to Pittsburgh with Paul Chryst. Now you're back again as here as the head strength and conditioning coach. It must be a good feeling to be back in familiar territory.
It's a great feeling. I mean, every day, wake up, I have to pinch myself coming in, because it's pretty surreal, and this is a special place. Haven't had, a great opportunity to be a part of this and be a part of that foundation of this program, and now have an opportunity to come back and help, sustain it, and obviously try and take it and push it to that next level. So I'm very grateful and humbled and thankful for the opportunity.
I think when you talk about some of the things you just mentioned Ross, is here's an opportunity to grow this program, to move it forward, to make it better. What types of things now, as the spring game ends and the spring practice season ends, are you preparing for the summer, the rest of the school year, and that transition through the summer conditioning program, getting ready for fall?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a huge training window for us. Again, it's a continued opportunity for them to familiarize themselves. As with anything, trust and relationship, that's something you build over time. And so we're able to kind of, continue to grow what we put in this winter. But now it gives us a chance to truly not be dictated, by a schedule or something else that was set up in the past. We can go forward with what, our full intentions are. So it's a great opportunity to lay that foundation.
How has strength and conditioning changed in just the short time since you've been gone from Wisconsin? 15 years?
Yeah, it's there's some things that, there is no replacement for displacement. At the end of the day, you can't get faster without running fast. You can't get stronger without training heavy. So, but there's been a tremendous, growth in terms of player monitoring, in terms of volume, in terms of load, and really looking at, overtraining elements, but at the same time, we're trying to walk that fine line. Undertraining is just as detrimental to their growth and performance as overtraining. So again, the pulse, as a strength coach, you have to have a great feel for your guys and where they're at. And often that's not just, you have 120 guys on the sideline right now, and they all react differently to different stimuluses and different stresses. So when one group may or may not, be excelling at one thing, another might be struggling. So you have to have that flexibility to kind of keep pushing the group, but at the same time, different members of that group, you have to have a plan in place for everyone.
And you really have an opportunity that's kind of unique, unlike any other coaching position here on campus. Is you're a conduit between the players and the head coach and their assistant coaches on staff. You're also a conduit between the players and the athletic training staff, and making sure that you're doing the things with the guys for them to be successful in recovery and then prevention. And how delicate is that for you to build that trust, not only between the players, as you mentioned, but between those two staffs, to make sure you're communicating the right things for these guys to get back on the field and be successful?
Well, I think obviously this program has great tradition, and a lot of that's the continuity, but at the same time it's great people associated with the program. When my first year with the New York Giants, Wellington Mara, the owner of the Giants, longtime owner, he addressed the entire team and spoke of the importance of the organization and everyone in the organization being on the same page. And there needs to be a lot of collaboration. There needs to be a willingness to work with everybody, whether you're a coach, trainer, strength coach, equipment guy. We're all on the same page, and that's to get these kids performing at a championship level. And so we really strive to keep each individual kid in mind with the decisions we make. Coach Chris is unbelievable to work for. He's got a great plan for these guys. It's really fun to work with him, implement that plan. We really have a tremendous, opportunity for some growth here, and it's fun to work with everyone in the building.
How about Paul Chryst as a head coach? You obviously got acquainted with him in that position at Pittsburgh, and what are his strengths as a head coach?
I think he has a great understanding for the game, number one. He is, tremendous game planner, offensive-minded, great relationship with the kids. And then, structurally, organizationally, however you want to look at it, in terms of developing it, going out and finding quality coaches, quality kids, the old, smart, tough, dependable, that's kind of the foundation and the bedrock of the program. So, again, you go out, find good guys, good people to work with, hardworking people, and, the secret is there is no secret to it. So it's, it's fun to be a part of that, and, it gives you great confidence to come in and do your job, and really gives you the latitude and freedom to excel at what you do well.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, thanks for coming out. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Welcome back.
And let's say hi to everybody in your hometown of Stevens Point, Wisconsin, shall we?
Absolutely.
Ross, thanks very much. Good luck this season. Ross Kalagi, strength and conditioning coach at the University of Wisconsin. Meanwhile, down on the field, Team Gosser with those two wheel-right touchdowns, still leading at 14-0. And again, having Ross Kalagi back here, a lot of people remember his playing days.
Yeah.
And Scott, you, of course, played for the Badgers, part of the '94 Rose Bowl champions. But that's been a focus of this weekend, too, is to have a stronger bond between the present and the past for Badger football.
Yeah, last night we had an opportunity as alumni. Coach Chryst had sent a letter out to pretty much everybody that he has the contact information for in the football office. It said, hey, come on back. I played here. I've coached here as an assistant. Now I'm coaching as a head coach. I want this to be just not my program, but our program. And I thought that was really telling for him to invite a lot of guys back. We had people back probably from the 1950s and 60s all the way through probably a year or two ago that were here. And I think that's important for these players down here on the field to feel that, to understand the tradition of this program. It's important for those players now to see the hard work that these young guys are going through each and every day on the field. And when you bring a guy back like Ross, it's interesting when you listen to him talk. Good people, hard-working, getting after it. That's Wisconsin football. That's Wisconsin athletics, quite honestly, in general. We're not a group that's all flashy. We just get after it, and I think that's the fun part, to see these people come back together and for the benefit of these kids playing for the Badgers.
New quarterback in is Alex Hornibrook. We'll talk a little bit more about him in just a little bit. But first, let's go down to the field where Kevin Lewis is with Michael Caputo. Kevin?
Jay, thank you very much. Michael Caputo joining us. And what are your thoughts of the spring game? You said anytime you get to put on the pads and play is a good day.
Oh, yeah. It's great because we get to come out here, game-like atmosphere, and it's just run around and hit people. It's a great day, It's all about having fun today, and it's all about just seeing who can play game-like atmosphere.
As a defensive unit, what kind of work have you guys put in this spring to progress before you kind of stop and then you hit the fall?
Oh, just getting to the ball. Defensively, just getting to the ball, just making plays, just being around the ball, all 11 hats to the ball. That's the main goal of the spring. And, we've definitely hit it and definitely been working at it. We're still working at it. And we've continued to get better. So,
how was defensive coordinator Dave Aranda stayed here at Wisconsin, and him and Coach Chryst? How important was Coach Aranda staying here for you guys?
It was really important. It's great because I love the scheme that Coach Aranda has and the twist that he puts on it, and just the factor of already knowing it. Not having to relearn a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of carryover, but. just having the same type of philosophy is really great for a lot of the older guys who played last year and years before. So, I mean, and just getting the new guys up to prep with just it's a quicker rollover process.
What's it like having a couple of basketball guys coach you? Josh Gosser in the Belichick and Dewey Dukin in the old Alvarez look.
It's not too bad. It's they're drawing up some plays. I don't really know if they're going to be executed that well. They're also drawing up some basketball plays. I don't know if that's going to really matter now, but no, it's cool. It's cool having those guys around and just getting the community into it too. It's cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Enjoy the rest of the game.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Jay and Scott, back up to you.
Thanks, Kevin. Michael. Boy, that Michael Caputo is a football player, isn't he? Sounds like a football player, is a football player.
First thing out of his mouth, love to hit, get out here and get after it a little bit. Just, hey, the physical part of that side of the football, that's the mentality you have to have. And, certainly a guy that's grown and developed into an outstanding safety. Again, in this league, not just for the Wisconsin Badgers, but in this league, and a leader that Coach Chris is going to have to go to during the summer, during the season, and a guy that really needs to take that next step as a senior.
12-yard gain on that last play by Serge Trezzi. By the way, T.J. Edwards has a game-high 6 tackles. You look, though, at the defensive starters lost for Wisconsin. Some starters returning, but there's a couple holes to fill. Defensive secondary, they're quite experienced, but again, inside linebacker seems to be the thing, and depth on the defensive line as well.
Yeah, those two. I think the depth on the line. Warren Herring, again, nicked up a few times last year, but battled through some of that. But certainly the guys in the inside linebacker, Landerson, Trotter, there you see some guys attempting to fill in and do some things that take that next step as a leader. The one that's always intriguing to me is Vince Biegel, a character on this team, a character when you watch him play, gets after it. But a guy that flies under the radar because of that is Joe Schobert. Outstanding football player out on the other side, but has some great ability. And I think the more that Biegel does, the more they're going to have to account for him, and that's where Schobert can step up and make a difference.
Jez Peavy, another catch on that pass from Bart Houston. So play late in the second quarter. Rob Wheelwright with the only scores of the day, a couple of touchdown receptions. Vince Biegel, another football player. A little different hairdo. Remember he had that big mohawk last year, but he actually had his head shaved for a charitable organization, and tells you a little bit about his commitment to the community. Second team All Big Ten linebacker that season. His dad, Rocky Biegel. You ever see Rocky Biegel play at BYU?
I did.
Oh, my goodness.
I did. And
I know where he gets it from.
Yeah. He just got a motor. You know, guys talk about high motor. It's always kind of a strange thing to comment on that. But, again, those two ball players, I think coming out of the state together and growing and developing as outside linebackers, I don't think anybody expected them to have that big of an impact that early in their career. And for them to get out there, they love playing. They understand the concept. The second year now, third year into Coach Aranda's tenure. And for me, I think they're very comfortable, and I think Dave Aranda feels very comfortable putting them in positions, moving them around, sort of like he did with Chris Borland. Here's an opportunity for those guys to make some plays and really solidify themselves as one of the top backers, outside linebackers in this league.
That was a fourth down play that goes nowhere. Ty DeForest, who's from Marshall, Wisconsin, just down the road about 20 minutes. He makes the big stop, and that'll turn the ball over. By the way, Vince Biegel's brother Hayden is competing for a spot on the offensive line there, so that Biegel name is all over this football program.
Yep. Dad was a long-time coach. Dad played, well, their grandfather, I guess. Their dad played and obviously bred into that family very, very deeply.
Okay, we talked about Alex Hornibrook taking over at quarterback now. Hornibrook, 6'4", 215 pounds. He's a freshman from Westchester, Pennsylvania. And, you know, you never know how to read a guy or how well he's doing in spring practice. Is that time he gets the pass off and it's complete. That time he stood up to the pressure well. And that's completed to John Damrow out of the backfield. But Hornibrook looked good.
Yep.
And he had a number of reporters and observers talking that that guy's something. You know, left-handed quarterback, too.
And I think if I remember right, he originally committed to Pitt when Coach Chris was there, and then committed to Wisconsin, decommitted from there, committed to Wisconsin when Paul decided to take the head job here. Again, guys in his face, trying to make some plays, delivers it up the field. Not a beautiful pass by any stretch, but the thing that's intriguing to me about him as a left-handed quarterback, there aren't many of those guys in college football, aren't that many in high school. So the defense is typically used to tilting the field to the left because offenses run right. There's a little cutback, but there's usually predicated one side or the other. They tend to be scheme heavy. Well, now you throw a left-handed quarterback in there, and that changes things, and so your defense feels just a little out of kilter until they can adjust to that. So there's an opportunity for them to expose and utilize that side of the field a little bit more with a young quarterback. But again, as a lefty, the ball comes out a little bit differently. It tails a little bit differently. A lot of things change when the football is thrown, and that's an adjustment not only for the defense, as we saw there, for the wide receivers as well.
Russell Wilson was here. We always talking about, oh, is he 6 feet? Is he not quite? No problem with Hornibrook.
Yeah,
he's 6'4".
He's well over.
We're at Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin for the 2015 Wisconsin Badgers spring football game. I'm Jay Wilson, joined in the booth by 1994 Rose Bowl champion for Wisconsin, Scott Nelson. Kevin Lewis doing our sideline reporting today. And so far it's a 14-0 Josh Gosser coached team lead as Rob Wheelwright has the 2 touchdown receptions for our only scoring of the day. Paul Chryst wanted to get a look at guys winning one-on-one battles, and we'll see when he looks at the tape who's been winning those battles. I don't know if you can win a job in spring, but you can certainly be noticed in spring.
Yeah, and for some of those guys that are hurt that would be competing for a job, that's a difference too. So from that standpoint, it's an opportunity. Okay, we know we're going to get out of Gaglianone. We know we're going to get out of so-and-so. But guys that take that the right way, the right mentality to that, somebody's down, might be the starter from a year ago, but if they can grow and develop into the scheme to become a factor in this game. And again, whether that's spelling somebody just on a quick 3-4 play break, if that's getting into special teams, whatever the situation, but there's opportunities, and if you take that and you raise your level of game, Jay, coaches notice that. Now, and they've been here 4 months. They don't know these guys all that well yet. So through the course of the summer, and as we heard Ross Kalagi, the strength and conditioning coach, talk about, that's a huge time for this team to grow and develop, and for this coaching staff to understand and watch these kids even more to understand what they bring to the table.
Rob Wheelwright's having a day. That time a scrambling Bart Houston hooks up with a crossing Rob Wheelwright, and he has another reception. So Rob Wheelwright making some noise here. 5 catches, 65 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Wheelwright.
Yeah, having himself a day, and a guy, I think we talked about that a long time ago, even in our open, and who's going to step up? Who's going to jump off the page, off the screen? Who's going to make a name for themselves? We've been waiting for another wide receiver to show up. Today, Wheelwright is that guy, and he's working himself into a position. Now, the trick is, how does he develop from today all the way through the summer into next fall? Can he do those same things when they're going against Alabama?
Intercepted. There's our guy again, Evan Bondock with the pick. Now, I think they're going to say he was out of bounds. Bondock jumped in front of the road. Apparently, he juggled the ball and he carried it out of bounds, but nearly an interception by Evan Bondock.
See if we can pick that up. Good pressure coming, wrapping around, and Houston showing some mobility to get on the edge, and that's hard. Running to your left, throwing back across your body a little bit.
George Rushing was the intended receiver. Bondock stepped in front of it, but it's an incompletion for Bart Houston and the Team Gosser offense.
You get a little pressure up front, that changes things in the back end. You get a little bit more aggressive, and that's not something you necessarily see physically. It's just a feel, especially when a quarterback scrambles out. You know those guys up front and that front 7 are doing what they need to do to give you a chance in the back end to hold up and make a big pass breakup.
Houston, another completion, this time to George Rushing. Rushing changed his number to 87 this year. He's a speedster out of Florida. Getting late here in the second quarter, and another completion. That time Houston dropped it in there nicely. And that's a catch by 85 Crenwick Sanders, another one of those young receivers trying to make an impression.
That's the old back shoulder throw, allowing him to get to the top side of the defensive back, bringing him back, allowing the defender to clear. Just a beautifully thrown football. Again, awfully hard for your receiver to adjust. many times in their technique, they're trying to get to the top side. If the quarterback throws it back, you slap the defender on the rear end, kind of give him a little nudge past you, and it opens up an alley for you to make the reception.
23-yard catch by the sophomore Crenwick Sanders. Houston goes to the air again looking for Sanders. Double coverage there, pass incomplete. Latrell Jamerson and one of the defenders there for the Team Dukin defense.
Kind of get a sense here, Jay, at different times they want to run the football, see what they're going to get. Ones versus twos on offense, ones versus two on defense, figure things out. Now this one seems to be more predicated towards the pass. What are they going to get? Who's going to get pressure up front? Who can cover in the back end? Who can get out of the middle of the field and help cover up over the top? All those things that these guys need to show that they've learned the technique and understand the scheme of the defense, the scheme of the offense, and then go out and execute it.
Houston on this drive is 4 of 6 for 49 yards, and he's looking for more, but this time he'll tuck it under and try to run it. Bondoc was the first guy there to hit him. And he's going to be about 4 yards short of a first down. So one of the Badger defenders grabbing his shoulder. That's the one thing you obviously want to avoid any time, but especially in spring. Xander Newville is holding his shoulder, and hopefully it's not a bad injury. We're going to have a timeout here with 44 seconds left in the second quarter. How about Bart Houston? Is he the kind of guy that can push Joel Stabby for the starting position?
I think between him and you look at Hornibrook, yeah, I think there's some guys there that certainly have the ability to do that. And this is key for them to show what they can and can't do. And even though he's not a great runner like Gillens, but to get out in space, show that he can do some things and help direct this offense to a score, yeah, I think he's a guy that can do it.
Registration now open for the 2015 BTN Big 10K. Represent your Big Ten school on July 25th in Chicago. The 10K and 5K races include a post-race tailgate with mascots, cheerleaders, food, and more. Register today at btnbig10k.com. That is a great event. 4th year. Right around the Big Ten football meetings in Chicago as well, around that time in July. Here's Houston, 3rd and 3. Pass incomplete. Bondoc broke it up again. He was looking for George Rushing.
Just to expand a little bit more on Houston, Jay, will he push him? Absolutely. Will there be a competition? I think, again, Joel's been named the starter, but there's always competition. That's what I think you like about that. But for me, it's okay. It's not one thing that can you do it against your own team after you've seen them time and time again, 15 different practices through the course of the spring. Can you do that now when you get into the fall, when things get ramped up a little bit more? And then you get an opportunity maybe in a game type situation, whether that be in Alabama, that be coming back home, whatever the case, you have to be able to show that now when you're going ones-on-ones. And that's important thing.
Andrew Endicott's 42-yard field goal attempt hits the left upright. No good. Well, one thing you got to say about Wisconsin, they're not afraid of opening the season with a tough game. Look at that. September 5th, AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, Wisconsin and Alabama. Last year it was LSU and Houston. This year it's Alabama. Next year it's going to be LSU at Lambeau Field in Green Bay.
I like that part of it. And then you roll into Miami and Troy and Hawaii, and then you roll into the Big Ten season. I think that marquee game with Alabama is great for us. Here at Wisconsin, it's great to be able to go down south and show that we can compete. And I think if you talk to people a lot last year with LSU and Wisconsin, not many people would have given us a chance to compete the way that we did. The way those young men got out there, the game that Melvin Gordon had, not many people would have thought that. But they had a way to get out. They found a way to go out there and get it done. They didn't win the game, but they competed. And I think, Alabama certainly has that mystique. But they're guys that are 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, too. And if you take that mindset and you work your tail off in practice in that offseason to get bigger, faster, stronger, there's always an opportunity. You never know how things will shake out, and a little momentum goes a long way. But what a great opportunity and some great experience for these young guys to go against a top program in a different part of the country to show and showcase the type of player that you are, and for Chris to showcase the type of talent that he has.
Chikwe Obashi made another play. Wow, he leveled Hornibrook.
Yeah, he almost gathered himself there a little bit and then decided to just burst out of there, didn't he? That's pretty impressive.
Back-to-back plays of Obashi hitting Hornibrook. That'll do it for the first half. Well, we saw the Team Gosser offense click for a couple of touchdown passes, but I'm remembering more defensive plays than offensive plays at this point.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how the spring is. The offense tends to be a little bit behind, and defense just plays on pure emotion. But certainly a game here tonight, this afternoon, for people to enjoy and watch these Badger guys. The players come together with a new staff and regime.
Joel Stabby didn't play long, but when he was in there, he hit Rob Wheelwright with a touchdown. Bart Houston followed in kind. 14-0 Team Gosser over Team Dukin at halftime of the Wisconsin spring game. Team Gosser 14, Team Dukin nothing. Our Kevin Lewis is standing by with Team Gosser's head coach, Josh Gosser. Kevin.
I can't believe I have to say head coach Josh Gosser after saying shooting guard Josh Gosser, but I think the proof's in the pudding. It's 14-0 at half.
Yeah, we got off to a great start. You know, Joel let us down for a score right to start the game, and our defense held strong. You know, typical of basketball. You know, I shut down Douye, so same thing for football right now.
How fun is it just for you to get a chance to do this and, you know, be a part of the spring football game?
Oh, it's great. You know, just growing up in Wisconsin, I've always been a huge fan of Wisconsin football. And us, just, you know, athletics as a whole, we're really close to each other. So to be able to be with the guys, you know, a lot of these guys are my close friends. So it's just fun for everyone.
You played football in high school. You played quarterback, so this is kind of like second nature to you.
Yeah, it's obviously amped up to another level, but it's just cool to be able to kind of learn what's going on, learn the ins and outs of what they do. And again, it's just fun for everyone.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the game.
I will. Thank you.
And check out the wardrobe, of course, because the Bill Belichick style is in effect with the hoodie, cut off, the hat, and everything. And he won the Super Bowl this year, so it's a good guy to pattern yourself after.
Kevin, thanks a lot. I don't know, the bucket hat just does something for your credibility, or not do something for your credibility.
Yeah. You can take that either way. Yeah, I'll just leave it there.
Can you imagine whoever wins this game, how much they're going to give the other guy at the end?
Yeah, I'm sure there's something out there for the two of those guys of some sort of bet. We'll leave it there. Maybe it's steak. I don't know. Maybe he's got to do his laundry. I don't know. But I'm sure there's something out there knowing those guys.
All right, there's Douye in his rather stylish sweater vest, but heaven knows what's happening here at halftime, what they're telling these guys. We look back at the first half, and Rob Wheelwright was the story. 5 catches for number 15. Stave stepped up in the pocket, threw that touchdown to make it 7-0. Bart Houston connecting with Wheelwright then. Another crossing pattern for a catch for number 15, and then here's that second touchdown.
Really, for me, when I'm watching Wheelwright, just running crisp, clean routes, not trying to do anything outside what he's able to do, but here's the play call, here's where I'm supposed to be. And when he stems off a defensive back, means he pushes inside or outside, he's getting him to bite, and he understands what that means. So then, as he reads things, the quarterback reads the same thing, and they've just been spot on together today. And watching him develop after, again, some injuries over the last couple of years for him, I think this game for him is extremely important.
Rob Wheelwright, certainly the offensive star of the first half, and defensively, that side of the ball made some plays as well. The pressure was on the quarterbacks.
You get safeties involved. You get outside linebackers involved. You get inside linebackers involved. And then you get a D lineman towards the tail end of the first half. Just guys playing with emotion, being excited about the opportunity. And I think Dave Aranda's system, now that these guys have been in it for a while, there's some solidity right there that they understand what he expects. These guys have been in that program or that side of the football with that game plan, and I think that's important for them to understand that nothing changed there. This is still going about executing and playing football, and for him, a calm, mild-mannered coach that these guys play awfully hard for.
20 minutes left here in the second half, and I got to believe that some young guys, a lot of the starters we might not see in the second half, a lot of guys like a Ty DeForest or guys like that, they're going to want to make an impression here.
Yeah, Evan Bondock, even in the second quarter, did the same thing. Guys trying to solidify themselves as a second stringers, third stringers, and more importantly, getting playing time, whether that be on special teams. That gets a chance at a nickel package, special offensive package, whatever the case. But there's opportunities that these guys are playing for and leaving a lasting impression for their coaching staff heading into the summer conditioning time of year.
Evan Bondock was a running back at Edgewood High School here in Madison, but he's making a name for himself in the defensive secondary today. Can Team Dukin come back and rally in the second half? 14-0 Team Gosser. We'll be back with the start of the second half in just a little bit.
2014-15 Wisconsin football spring game at Camp Randall. The noticeably taller than me, Douye Dukin, is coaching today against Josh Gosser. And Coach Dukin, got a little work to do in the second half.
We do. We're a second-half team. You know, we're the comeback kids, so hopefully we can put on a show in the second half.
How fun is it just to be a part of this and get to coach and get to call some plays and mix it up with the guys?
Oh, it's awesome. You know, Coach Chris invited us to have a little fun with these guys. Especially, it makes it a lot better that they're our peers, you know, guys that we hang out with. So being able to be here in their environment makes it a little bit more fun for us.
Josh kind of took a dig. He said, you know, I shut down Douye in basketball, so now I'm trying to do it again on the football field.
I don't know about that. He's spreading some false rumors, but you know, we'll see what happens in the second half.
You're going with the Barry Alvarez throwback look, the sweater vest, the shades. Coach had to have liked that one.
Loved it. He says, Douye knows how to dress, so you know, I do what I can.
How has this ride this year been for you? Josh said, you know, can't ask for more than this. You know, your back-to-back Final Fours, and you're capping it with a spring football game. And this academic year had to be pretty good for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was a dream come true without a doubt. You know, all the success that we had this year was a lot of fun, especially with the group of guys that we had. The camaraderie that we were able to build made it that much more special. But you know, to cap it off with these guys and wish them well for the next season, you know, we're just here supporting them.
How about a comeback for the second half?
I hope so. We'll have to wait and see.
All right, thanks for your time. Enjoy the rest of the game.
Thank you.
Douye Dukin, senior, graduating forward on the Wisconsin men's basketball team, back-to-back Final Fours. Was a pretty good season for them, and now if he can pull off, I think, a comeback in this game, Jay, this will be the capper. This will be what he remembers going into the summer.
Funny how that works. Thanks, Kevin, very much. Well, Wisconsin ended last season 11-3. Some memorable victories down the stretch. A critical win against Nebraska here at Camp Randall, where Melvin Gordon went for over 400 yards. They just kept feeding him the ball, and Nebraska could do nothing about it. Then, the Paul Bunyan-Axe game. Wisconsin needed to beat Minnesota to win the West Division title. They did. Then they went to the Outback Bowl. This was the kick that hit the right upright, and Wisconsin, behind head coach Barry Alvarez, won the Outback Bowl 34-31, ending a streak of 4 straight bowl losses for Wisconsin. Joining us now, Tom Dienhart, BTN.com senior writer. And Tom, you've stopped at Nebraska and Michigan along the way on your spring game tour, and now you're here at Wisconsin. What about the Badgers from your perspective? What can we look for in 2015?
Well, Wisconsin has a chance, I think, to contend in the Big Ten West without a doubt, but they've got their issues. You guys have watched them here in the first half. The offensive line, I tell you what, typically always a strength here, but some real depth concerns for Wisconsin up front. And then defensively, the front seven, they're really sorting through that line. Inside linebacker is a big key to 2 new starters there. The secondary will be strong. But again, you know, Wisconsin's got a lot to build from. But again, I'm really going to watch that offensive line, since that always is a trademark of this program.
Of course, they're in the Big Ten West. Who are some of the other teams to watch out for in addition to Wisconsin?
It's going to be Nebraska right there as well. You know, I was in Lincoln earlier this spring, and I tell you what, Mike Riley, the new coach like here, Paul Chryst as well. Mike Riley's got a lot to build on. You look at last year's standings there. He inherits some nice talent from Bo Pelini, but again, Riley needs to work through his offense. He needs to really find that quarterback if Tommy Armstrong's the guy or not. Of course, big playmakers, Amir Abdullah, Kenny Bell gone. They need some guys to make plays on offense for them.
And then you look at the other side on the East Division. Jim Harbaugh is new over at Michigan, and so there's some intrigue over on that side, too, with the national championship Ohio State Buckeyes. It's kind of a fun time of year for me to kind of take a look and evaluate Big Ten teams of who's really going to come up and surprise some people now.
Yeah, this is great speculation, conjecture. Everybody's obviously has great optimism. And, you know, you're right, Scott, the Big Ten East, D'Antonio, Franklin, Harbaugh, Meyer. I mean, it's loaded with great coaches, great players. Of course, the Harbaugh storyline's huge. Quarterback issues there. They have to get that position solidified. Of course, Jake Rudock from Iowa is transferred there. Maybe he will be, you know, a panacea and elixir to that position, which was a real, you know, just a real sore spot for the program the last couple of years. So, again, Harbaugh's got a lot to build on defensively, but it's going to get down that quarterback spot for him on offense.
New head coaches, Paul Chryst here at Wisconsin, Mike Riley at Nebraska, Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. What does that group bring to the Big Ten?
Well, quite a bit. You know, Mike Riley, 61 years old. All that experience in Corvallis with Oregon State, of course, was in the National Football League, even in the World League and the Canadian Football League. So he brings a wealth of knowledge. What's exciting about Mike Riley, He's never been at a college that's had all the bells and whistles to really succeed at a high level. Now he's in Lincoln, of course. We all know about that program, the facilities, the support, just the resources across the board. He's a terrific coach who won a lot of football games at a place where it's hard to win a lot of football games. So he's sort of warned what he can do now that he's in a program that's so well endowed like Nebraska. Of course, Chris, Barry Alvarez always talks about culture and fit. And I tell you what, Paul Chryst fits both of those requirements perfectly here. Of course, a native of the state, a graduate of the school, former player, son of a coach from the state, has been an assistant coach here. He knows what to expect at Wisconsin. He knows the culture. He knows how to win. He knows the hurdles, the positives and the negatives. Hopefully he'll bring some stability to that position.
Little change in our game. They have a 15-minute running clock. They've decided to go 15 instead of 20 minutes here for the second half. Tom Dienhart, BTN.com senior writer, joining us and writes great stuff on BTN.com. And one of the subjects you've heard a lot, read about, written about, are these satellite camps. Tell a little, not everybody's familiar with them, but what about satellite camps and what's the controversy there?
Well, satellite camps there's several coaches in the Big Ten who are going to be guest coaches at football camps at other colleges mostly in the southern region. That's a chance for them to evaluate players, in that part of the country. And again, it's rubbed a lot of the coaches in the Southeast the wrong way. A lot of them don't want to see these camps take place. But again, I talked to James Franklin this last week. Penn State's really embraced this concept. You know what Franklin says? There's no rules against it. His job is to make Penn State better. His job is to win football games at Penn State. Again, the satellite camps in this manner are not against the rules. He's going to embrace them and try to use them to make his program better.
I think any time that you can try and make your program better is good, and so then you start to schedule some things out. And we take a look at Wisconsin's schedule for next year, leading off with Alabama and then coming back with 3 home games, and you go down the line. But how do you think that schedule sets up for this team and transition with a head coach, some young players, and an opportunity to start off with one of the marquee programs in the country?
It's going to be a heck of a measuring stick, obviously, to play Alabama, a program of that ilk. It's going to be awfully tough. Again, it'd be nice for Chris to see where he's at to measure himself against the best. So a heck of a way to start the year for the Badgers. You look deeper into the Big Ten Conference schedule. Of course, they have to go to Minnesota. That's going to be awfully difficult as well. And they have to go to Nebraska, too. So, again, they've got their work cut out for them.
Yeah, I think that some of that's intriguing. Went out to Rutgers a year ago, played really well. Now they head back to Maryland this next coming season. And the Iowa one, to me, is just a great rivalry between the two teams. And having them back here in Camp Randall after being down on their turf for a couple years, I think is going to be an intriguing matchup with Kirk Ferentz and what he brings to the table as a well-respected head coach and a program that he has. But, again, down his starting quarterback from a year ago, so there's some uncertainty in that program as well.
You're right. C.J. Beathard's going to be the guy there, of course. The Iowa offense has come under a lot of scrutiny, a lot of criticism in recent years. Not a lot of playmakers on the edge. The running back spot's been pedestrian. Again, just the big play explosive ability has been lacking in that Iowa offense. Maybe Beathard can be a guy that can stretch the field a little bit. So, again, having them play the Badgers, always a fun matchup, obviously. And, a real quick note on Minnesota. Keep your eye on the Golden Gophers, of course. Jerry Kill's got that program primed up. They may actually win the West this year. The defense is always underrated, and offensively, if they can develop Mitch Leidner in that passing game, obviously replace the running back, David Cobb, and they got depth there. Don't forget about the Gophers.
I think when you look at Minnesota, great thing for Coach Kill is it's been a staff that's been solid all the way through his tenure. Really hasn't been a whole lot of change. His health issues, but guys are really rallying. I think when you talk with his players and information that you probably gathered interviewing those guys, they play hard for him. They really respect him, and they want to succeed, which isn't something we've heard out of Minnesota in a long time.
Staff stability. I mean, everybody loves continuity. A big key to success. It's been there for Jerry Kill, Matt Limegrover, Tracy Clays, Jim Zabrowski. You can go on and on. Minnesota, Northwestern, Penn State were the 3 Big Ten staffs that had no turnover this year. And again, it speaks for itself, and that's got to help moving forward for these staffs to have that same voice, that same message, those same schemes. The players aren't confused, and they can continue to develop.
Dare Ogunbowale just ran for a 5-yard touchdown for Team Gosser. Now 21-0, 10 carries, 66 yards for Dare. Tom, last year Ohio State made that incredible run to the national championship. Are the Buckeyes, the team out of the Big Ten, best in line to do that again this year?
Yeah, without a doubt. Maybe a preseason #1 team as well. Totally loaded this year. Not much attrition from last year's squad. You start on offense with the quarterback spot. They got to get that filled out. But again, Ezekiel Elliott, top Heisman contender. Again, Mike Thomas at wide receiver. The offensive line, 3 or 4 starters back up front there, and defensively with Joey Bosa, another terrific defensive line. Again, Urban Meyer did not suffer any real big losses. The big key for them, again, is always dealing with success. It's almost an intangible. Can you deal with success and continue to be the big game on everybody's schedule every week?
How important was that Ohio State championship to the perception of Big Ten football around the country?
It was huge. I think we all knew that the conference had taken its hits in the New Year's Day Bowls and the postseason in general. Needed to get over that hump, I think. Had not won a national title since Ohio State in the 2002 season. So it was important, I think, to change the narrative. We heard that change the narrative, uttered countless times last year. And I think, you know what, rightly so, that they helped change the narrative with that big win by the Buckeyes to get the conference back up to an elite level where they've won a national championship. And now, again, prime maybe to do it again. And we got Harbaugh at Michigan. Talked about Franklin, D'Antonio, Kill, Riley, Christ. The conference has a lot of momentum right now.
Yeah, a couple big wins. Wisconsin's over Auburn, so a couple big wins from the Big Ten over the SEC.
Michigan State, Baylor.
So you look at that, and I think that changed some of the perception that we're not as good up here as what they play in the South. And I think our conference in general took that to heart and played awfully hard in bowl season.
And again, that's your one chance to really measure yourself from league to league. We have no other way to do it. Rightly or wrongly, the postseason is our one shot. Big Ten, SEC, Big Ten, Big 12, Big Ten, Pac-12. That's it. It's put up or shut up time there. And again, as Scott talked about, the conference really put up, last January, late December with those big wins, Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Michigan State in particular.
Tom Dienhart, BTN.com senior writer. Thanks for being with us and stopping by Madison. And I'm sure we'll see you back here in the fall.
Always love my favorite Big Ten city, without a doubt.
Oh, appreciate it. And stay warm. I hear the wind's a little brisk out there.
Right. Thanks, Tom.
Tom Dienhart. Great insight. Check out his stuff on BTN.com. It's as good a perspective as you're going to get in Big Ten football. Clock running now, 6:27 left, third quarter. Team Gosser 21-0. Hornibrook under pressure again and loses the football. Got a little sloppy with the possession. And I think somebody in a red jersey picked it up. Or did they?
I couldn't quite tell if it was, but Leon Jacobs was diving in there, pounding his fist on the ground, upset. I think he had a chance at it. All squirts out.
Yep.
And
it's loose.
Looks like Newville actually had a chance, and he got wrapped up a little bit. He's trying to reach out and get it. And James, that's why he was upset. The ball pops up, almost catches the football in midair, and I think had Newville not put his hand up there, he would have had it and had a chance to score a defensive touchdown.
We're told Chikwe Obashi was the guy who ended up recovering that ball. Now they're going to place it back at the 40-yard line. So 3 tackles, 2.5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles for Chikwe Obashi today.
It's a good day's work.
And a fumble recovery. Yeah, that's pretty good. DJ Gillen's back at quarterback. Serge Trezzi gets the carry there. And second down will be coming up for Team Gosser. Let's go down to the field now where Kevin Lewis is standing by with quarterback Joel Stave.
Badgers quarterback Joel Stave joining us now. Joel, you didn't get to play a whole lot today, but you're 21-0 Team Gosser so far.
Yeah. Got one drive there at the beginning. I knew I wasn't going to play a ton. I thought it might be a little more than that, but that's all right.
Corey Clement said, yeah, it's boring to watch, but it's fun too because you get to see maybe some of the younger guys and maybe not win a job in spring, but you want to get noticed.
Yeah. I think it's been a good spring game. It's been a really productive spring, I think. Coach Chris has been really good about long practices, I guess, which gives everyone a lot of opportunity to work and really gets a lot of film out there so we can make sure we continue to learn on it through the summer.
What has it been like? Coach Chryst has got to get to know so much personnel and so many things. How's the adjustment been since the coaching change?
I think it's been really good. I think he's done a good job kind of adjusting to, the personnel that we have. And I think, from an offensive standpoint, I think we've done a good job kind of picking up the offense. New terminology and everything like that. But, I think the guys have really done a good job learning it and, just making sure we're locking in meetings and things like that to make sure that we're getting everything out of each practice.
And what has this spring done for your confidence coming in as the starter now and taking those reins and making that push toward the fall?
It's been good. It's been a lot of fun being able to, take this spring a little different than I have in springs past where you're always competing. It gives me an opportunity to maybe work things that you wouldn't normally work when you're trying to be perfect when you're in a competition like that. So, maybe not necessarily forced throws, but, maybe some ill-advised throws here and there just to see, see what windows you can throw into, what you can't. It's been a great learning experience.
All right, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the game.
All right, thank you.
All right, guys, back up to you in the booth. Joel Stoppe, Wisconsin starting quarterback.
Kevin, thanks. George Trezzi with a burst and a nice gain on the ground for Team Gosser. Joel Stoppe, now for the United States Marine Corps leader of the game, and it is Joel Stoppe. Look at that, 21-7 as a starting quarterback over the last 3 years. 3-time academic All Big Ten. 7th all-time at UW in passing yards with 4,948, 37 touchdowns, 26 interceptions. And last year, before the season, a lot of people thought Stoppe would be the starting quarterback, but Tanner McAvoy was handed the job. For a lot of people's minds, he got what many people are calling the yips, where he just couldn't complete a short pass in practice. But he worked his way back from that, and once he got back, the team started winning again.
Yeah, and I think the guy in the screenshot there with him, Sam Arneson, one of the tight ends for Wisconsin last year, I think was a guy that they built a relationship on the field, a connection that way to get some successful throws down the field. Joel, to me, he's interesting. He can be really, really good at times, and there's times where you scratch your head. But he's a kid that's gone through an awful lot. He's persevered. He keeps coming back through all the noise of everybody that throws stuff out of blogs and social media, whatever the case. He's persevered. And I think when you have a guy like that keeps coming back, and as a senior, that your teammates know what you've gone through. They read things, they hear things, they hear the boos in the crowd, whatever the case. And Joel keeps coming back with poise and not pointing fingers, but just trying to lead this team. That part of his game, the mental side of it, I think will grow. And under the tutelage of Coach Chryst and offensive coordinator Joe Rudolph, I think his game is going to expand, and we hope obviously get better this coming fall. But because he's a guy that certainly put in the time and should be respected for what he's been able to do.
Jazz Peavy has been the receiving star of the second half. He darn near caught a touchdown pass there. Peavy, 3 catches, 31 yards so far, but good defensive play there by T.J. Reynard to knock it away and save a touchdown to Peavy.
One thing I've noticed through the course of the spring game, Jay, last season even, defensive backs were in position to make plays. They just never turned to locate the football, get their hand in the middle, try and knock it away. This spring game, I've seen a much more aggressive approach from the secondary. Safeties getting in run support. Corners not being afraid to jump underneath. Again, timing an opportunity, recognizing it, knowing that you have the opportunity to come up and make a pass breakup.
Ogunbowale stretches and scores the touchdown. His second. That's a heck of a run by Dari Ogunbowale.
Nice 20-yard touchdown run without a doubt. Got to the outside. So as I'm complimenting the defensive backs, one thing they need to work on then in the offseason is making sure they get off blocks, right?
Right. 27-0 Team Gosser. Oh, Douye Dukin's going to have a long night tonight.
Yeah, Douye's kind of walking around.
Look at Gosser's all giggly and snapping his suspenders.
Well, he's got the starting quarterback behind him there. Douye, you can just see them behind those aviator glasses right now.
Jack Russell gets that extra point across the crossbar. Dari Ogunbowale now 11 carries, 86 yards, touchdown runs of 55, and this one from 20. Team Gosser all their day, 28-0.
That's probably a much different perspective for Douye and Josh down on the football field seeing that than being in the stands and being a part of it.
I think Douye's doing stand around.
Yeah, you might want to get a little something going here with the boys.
That was 14-0 at half. Now it's 28-0. Well, the Badger basketball team had some pretty good comebacks this year, but I don't even know if they came back from 28.
Right, like that.
Okay, here we go at the start of the fourth quarter. Lost the snap. That's Austin Kafensis under center. Kafensis lost it, and Alec James comes away with a football.
Alex James trying to score even.
Well, Austin Kafensis is a much heralded freshman from Utah, Sandy, Utah. He would like to forget. Well, that was actually recovered. Well, it was recovered for a moment by Mark Sari on the offense, and then James came out of there with it. Well, we touched on Tanner McAvoy, who started the first 5 games of the 2014 season as the Badgers quarterback, and then also played safety. And I tell you what, he's a heck of a safety.
Yeah, he's just a heck of an athlete to me. I watched him a couple years ago when he first got moved over. He came into camp as a quarterback, got hurt, tried wide receiver, ended up going playing free safety later in the year, and just had really a solid year there. I thought, okay, maybe you take a look. Maybe he's going to stay over on the defensive side of the ball. He competed for a starting job as a quarterback, was named the starter right before the LSU game, played a number of games, and then was kind of down, and then ended up working his way into the secondary again. And I won't be surprised we see him a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. Don't know in what capacity. I won't be surprised we see him at free safety and starting out there playing side by side with Michael Caputo. But he just has a knack. And I think the quarterback side of things for him and his mentality and his approach to the game allow him to figure down and distance situations and understand what the offense might be thinking, which puts him in a great position defensively to make a break on the ball, make a tackle, whatever the case. But a young man that, to me, at 6'5", runs extremely well and just an exciting athlete, I think, that's going to bring an awful lot to the table this next season for the Wisconsin Badgers.
Evan Bondoc just had his 8th tackle. He looks like he's going to get an assist on that one. It's Serge Trezzi forces his way toward the goal line, stopped a little bit short. But that's an intriguing possibility with Tanner McAvoy, wide receiver, too, isn't it?
It is. And it's unknown. I mean, the coaches aren't telling us much on that, but just seeing what he's been able to do on both sides of the ball, he's an intriguing athlete, and might be an opportunity for this offense to find another threat, maybe a third threat. Alex Erickson with what we've seen today with Wheelwright. And then you throw McAvoy in the mix. Again, a big target that might be one of those possession receivers when you need a big first down with a comfort level and familiarity with a quarterback that they've known each other and played together now for a few years. What a great matchup and partnership that Stavi and McAvoy could have still on the field at the same time, just in different capacities.
It's like Serge Trezzi was going to get into the end zone there for a touchdown, but he was stopped just short by Ty DeForest, who just got an ankle. There you see Maxwell coming up, limping a little bit, one of their offensive linemen. Second team left tackle. Look at DeForest fly to the football. And again, you know, how many times have we talked about a walk-on in the Wisconsin football program? And Ty DeForest is one of those guys, as Maxwell gets a little assistance coming off the field. But this program's been built to a large extent, to a large degree, on those walk-ons. Well, Ty DeForest, another example.
Yeah, we've said it a couple times today, Jay, opportunity. And when you have walk-ons that come in and fight for a starting position, fight for a backup position, fight to get on the field for special teams, doing what they can do as the White scores a touchdown.
Serge Trezzi got that one. Carried Bondoc past the goal line and into the end zone.
Does that put Dukin on the board then?
I'm afraid not. No. That's another for Gosser.
35. That's
34-0.
Boy, that's racking up some points. Now it's starting to get a little unsportsmanlike, don't you think?
Well, yeah, I don't want to. I want to see what happens after the game.
I do
the
too.
Motion W there. That's really something. Here's Russell with the extra point. Up and good. 35-0. Kevin Lewis on the field with running back Dario Ogunbowale. Kevin.
Jay, one of the guys leading the charge for Team Gosser as they take a 35-0 lead, Dario Gumbawale. What has this game like been for you, and what was it like to have a performance as strong as you've had?
I mean, it was good. It's a great way to finish out the spring. Springs are going great for all the running backs. So three running backs having 3 touchdowns. So it's been a good day for us.
Talk about the position of running back. It's kind of like offensive line at Wisconsin. You just churn them out. You've been a backup. You're going to get playing time this season. What is that progression like for you at that position?
I mean, it's great. Like you said, I mean, we do running backs here. This is Wisconsin. That's the thing we do here. So it's a good place to be to play running back. So things have been good. So
what is the coaching transition? You have a new head coach, some new terminology on offense. What has that transition been like? Because you're kind of still getting to know you things out of the way with Coach Chris and the offense.
I mean, it hasn't been that tough, honestly. Offense is offense, so things like that have been fine. But the new personalities, that's probably the biggest thing that we have to get used to. But the offense hasn't been too tough to get used to.
How important is it to use this spring as a springboard toward the fall?
I mean, it's huge. It's huge. And we got the whole summer to get better, the offseason. But, I mean, obviously we got a big first game. So this spring it's been good. Obviously it's over now, but this summer is going to be huge and then going into the fall.
And Josh Gosser, if the basketball thing doesn't work out, if you guys need like an offensive quality control coach, he might be the guy.
He knows what he's doing. He actually played quarterback in high school, so I mean he knows what he's doing out there. So he's got the verbiage down and the terminology down. So it's been fun having him on the sideline.
All right, thanks for the time. Enjoy the rest of the game. We'll see you in the fall.
Will do. Thanks.
Guys, back up to the booth. Dario Gumbawale has a big game on the ground, leading a charge that sees Team Gosser up 35-0 on Team Dukin.
Thanks, Kevin. Douye Dukin's got a bone to pick with somebody. Because Patrick Herb just pointed out that you look at the original depth charts, Alex Hornibrook and Serge Trezzi were on Team Dukin. They drove down the field for Team Gosser.
And score.
They switched teams, and they score for Gosser. So it's 35-0 Gosser when Dukin's guys did the damage. Thad Armstrong at quarterback now as we continue to roll down the depth chart. He throws a pass completed to Sari. Well, was it? No, looks like it fell to the ground, incomplete. First chance to see Thad Armstrong. He is a redshirt junior from Ottawa, Illinois, Wheaton Warrenville South High School. Mark Sari comes to the sideline.
Silent delay game.
Well, we talked about a number of positions and so critical to what Wisconsin wants to accomplish on offense, the offensive line. Some major departures with Rob Havenstein, Kyle Costigan, and Dallas Llewellyn. So there's a whole cast of characters looking to get in there. Merritts and Volts are staples from last year, but boy, a lot of those names could play a factor here in the fall.
Well, I think you're going to see by committee, quite honestly, to start out. Ray Ball's a guy that's played a little bit. Hayden Beagle is sitting out the spring right now, but a couple of guys I'm interested in. Michael Dieter was one that they talked about last year, potentially needing to pull his redshirt year because of injury, because of Volts. And then Ben Schwal is the other guy that Dad played here. He's come up here, and I think that's one that's awfully intriguing to me. If he can understand and how to operate through the schemes, out in space, what they ask him to do in order to get better, I think there's going to be some depth. And it might be a 2-year process, honestly, Jade, before those guys really are at the level that they need to be at in order to be successful in this line. But Coach Chris understands that. Coach Rudolph understands that. So when you work through that, your position coach certainly understands it because he sees the X's and O's of what's going on day in and day out. But they certainly need to ramp that up. They need to get stronger. They need to get better out in space, and they need to communicate. Right now, you just don't know what you're going to get. And through the summer with the off-season conditioning program that you hear about with Gumbawale talking to, hey, we need to get better at all this stuff. Those guys will work extremely hard because they have to. They are a staple of this program, and to be successful as a running back, the guys that we've churned out has been due in big part to that offensive line up front.
And whatever the offensive line looks like, as we have a holding penalty on that incompletion intended for Jazz Peavy. Merritts and Volts have to be the guys, the rocks, to lead them. Merritts, honorable mention, all Big Ten. Volts, second team, all Big Ten. Two guys, Merritts had an ankle problem for a good part of last year, but he battled through it, and Volts has had his injury issues. But if those guys are in there, they're certainly going to provide the stability.
Yeah, and I think that's that leadership where you talk about Havenstein and some of those guys in the years past. Yeah, they've done that. They've challenged those young guys to get better faster probably than what they should. Is a little procedure penalty on the offense. Those are things our coaching will get cleaned up. But the size and the strength for, again, Volts and Merritt's both, they're going to have to be leaned on awfully hard to solidify that five-man unit and then really challenge the guys behind them, because some of the injuries they've experienced, not so much those two in general, but in the offensive line over the last couple of years, they need that depth. And that's an area right now that they're probably lacking a little bit on this program.
Serge Trezzi was guilty of that pre-snap penalty as he jumped, but he's had a productive day. 15 carries, 52 yards, and a touchdown. And there's another catch by Jazz Peavy. Alex Hornibrook delivering the completion.
Oh, it's fun watching this stuff. I think he got, I'll say, pantsed a little bit there on the sideline. So be careful when you watch that at home. Yeah, I'm not going to say much more than that, but I saw his teammates kind of gather around him and have a little giggle at his expense.
Yeah, he was giggling too. Replay not forthcoming.
Probably good. Probably good.
There's all sorts of stuff that goes on down there, isn't it?
Oh, it's incredible.
All right, here's a 4th down play, 4th and 3 for Alex Hornibrook. Let's see what he can do under pressure, and it's complete to wheel right and taken down by Jesse Hayes. Got to be about a yard short of the first down.
Nice play by Hayes, outside linebacker, going against a wide receiver. Awfully difficult just because of the speed, the separation that they get. He was able to run on top side of him, stay up there. Wheelwright catches it, and he closed really quick. So that quick burst to prevent the first down, just a really good play, good technique as an outside backer. Again, awfully difficult when you're going outside backer against wide receiver.
Jesse Hayes, the son of Jay Hayes, former UW assistant coach, now defensive line coach with the Cincinnati Bengals. Hornibrook continues to direct the offense. Now check that. That is Austin Kafensis in there, and he throws a completion. Tonight it's a great doubleheader of men's lacrosse. First, Penn State takes on Michigan. Then Maryland hosts Johns Hopkins. Coverage starts after the Wisconsin spring game on BTN and BTN to go. Austin Kafensis calling the signals. Trezzi taken down to the backfield for a loss. That's Alex Jacobs. Leon Jacobs, excuse me.
Interesting the tandem with Hornibrook at quarterback, a freshman, Kafensis. Again, both redshirt or true freshmen, I guess, coming in. More than likely going to redshirt this next year, but guys that were very productive in high school. And I think recognizing that, and Kafensis was a guy that committed to Gary Anderson here when he was at Wisconsin and stuck true to that. He said, I want to come to Wisconsin. It's a place I committed to, not necessarily the coach. And he's a young guy that if you look up things online and you watch some of his film, just an extremely talented young man. But again, that next level, that next jump to the college game, can you transfer that? And that's the trick for these young guys, to battle through the mental part of it, the struggles that they have that way on the field, not to mention in the classroom. Can you adapt, and can you get yourself ready to go to play week in and week out at this level? And that's awfully hard for guys that have been very, very good in high school to do that. The ones that can transfer that are the guys that you see earn the starting positions and become very, very good football players.
Austin Kafensis is an intriguing case at quarterback for Wisconsin. From Sandy, Utah, as we said. In high school, he set 15 Utah state records, including throwing for 13,000 yards. He rushed for almost 7,000, threw 115 touchdown passes, and has one there to George Rushing. 24-yard touchdown, Kafensis to Rushing. 34 yards, and Team Dukin is on the board.
Love that. No goose egg. Well, you're talking about, what, 13,000 yards? Splitting the needle, threading the needle. Right between outside linebacker, between the safety late coming over the top. Just a beautifully thrown football. And again, these guys compete at a high level. It's the consistency and transferring that week in and week out, day after day, is how you earn the starting position and how you get better as an athlete and a football player, and certainly at a quarterback position that's scrutinized no matter what program you're in the country.
Kafensis threw for 115, ran for 103 more touchdowns in high school, and he has his first collegiate score, albeit in the spring game. Still a great moment for Austin Kafensis. We'll see how his collegiate career develops. George Rushing, by the way, 4 catches, 56 yards, and a touchdown. And Douye Dukin's club has scored. They haven't scored quite enough.
I think Douye is another happy camper. He got the goose egg off the board. So.
Oh, look out. The Gatorade bath might be forthcoming. Just got it. Okay, Gosser just got it. Good thing he's got that hat on. There it is. Oh, man, it's the colored stuff, too. Oh, no. Yeah, Douye's a little late to the party here, but he certainly enjoyed that. Boy, that hoodie's got to weigh about 40 pounds now. All that stuff on it, too.
You know, when Kevin interviewed those guys down the side, I thought that was really cool of how these programs and this athletic department, these student athletes come together and respect and understand the time commitment that it takes. And that's a fun part, no matter what college you're at, is if you can build those relationships cross sports, then you know you're at a very special place. And hats off to Coach Christ for really encouraging and getting those basketball guys out here to help out with the spring game.
Well, the clock has gone to 0, but they're going to give Hornibrook one more chance here with a 2nd and 10 play, and this will likely bring our spring game to a conclusion. Hornibrook steps up, throws, and completes. And that's a pretty big gain. That's Kyle Peniston with the reception, and that will do it for the 2015 Wisconsin spring game. Team Gosser with a lot of bragging rights after this one. 35-7 the final, as fans will leave, and they'll be back this fall, you bet, in big numbers to watch the Wisconsin Badgers. Back with more from Madison in a moment. And Scott, I think one of the real highlights of the day, as you might suspect, the Wisconsin running game.
Yeah, for me, again, staple Wisconsin is running back you, and you get a number of guys getting out into the mix with all this stuff. Just left, right, guys scoring, a Gumbawale deal, you name it. The only guy we didn't see was Corey Clement. They held him out on purpose, so those young guys got some great opportunity to showcase what they can do, and I don't think they disappointed.
Dario Gumbawale with a couple of impressive touchdown runs. He's looking to make his mark as the number 2 running back. That's it from Madison, Wisconsin, as the Badgers' 2015 spring football season wraps up. Coming up next on BTN, it's men's lacrosse between Penn State and Michigan. So for Scott Nelson and Kevin Lewis, I'm Jay Wilson saying so long. This has been an exclusive presentation of the Big